The Trump administration now threatening to indict Fed Chair Jay Powell over comments to Congress about the Fed's renovation project. Eamon Javers is in Washington this morning with the latest. Good morning to you, Eamon.
Yeah, good morning, Andrew. Federal Reserve Chairman Jay Powell struck a defiant tone in an unprecedented video statement on Sunday night, revealing that the Department of Justice had served the Federal Reserve with grand jury subpoenas in an ongoing and previously unknown criminal investigation. Powell said the subpoenas were served Friday and relate to his testimony about the Federal Reserve's building construction project before the Senate Banking Committee last June. Now, President Trump has been deeply critical of Powell over the past year and has intently scrutinized cost overruns at the Fed's construction project. But Powell said the investigation is just a pretext.
The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president. This is about whether the Fed will be able to continue to set interest rates based on evidence and economic conditions, or whether instead monetary policy will be directed by political pressure or intimidation.
A Department of Justice spokesman told CNBC on Sunday that the Attorney General has instructed her U.S. attorneys to prioritize investigating any abuse of taxpayer dollars. Now, a source familiar with the investigation confirmed to CNBC last night that it is being run out of the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia, which is run by U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, a longtime political ally of President Trump. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt declined to comment last night. Powell's term as chairman ends in May, and President Trump has been interviewing candidates to take his place. It's not clear exactly what the Department of Justice may be investigating here, but President Trump's close political ally, FHFA Director Bill Pulte, as early as last summer, accused Powell of lying to Congress with his characterizations of the construction effort. Guys, a lot of questions here, not as many answers this morning. Back over to you.
Eamon, just on the merits of it, and we can get into everything else about it, because obviously the markets are reacting to it, and I think you're seeing a lot of reaction even from some Republicans, though not many. If you actually go back and look at his testimony, is there anything in it that is suggestive that he was not truthful? And is there anybody in Congress that is, beyond Bill Pulte, who's not in Congress but is obviously a part of this administration, is there anybody in Congress who's ever mentioned this before, ever?
Yeah, look, so a couple of things. I think, it's going to turn on the question of, how did Powell describe the luxury items, quote unquote, that are involved in this construction project. We'll see exactly what the DOJ is investigating here, but it'll, I think, be around his language about whether there are special sets of elevators, whether there's a special lunchroom, all that kind of thing, and, what type of marble is being used, and whether those things are materially false. The challenge for the DOJ is that they're going to have to prove that it was a material discrepancy, first of all, and then it was done sort of with knowledge of foresight. And I think those things will be relatively high bars for them. And the danger here for the Department of Justice is they investigate here and they end up coming up empty. And that could cause them two problems. One, public embarrassment. Two,
the person in Congress,
there is a person.
Tom
Tillis.
Well, not Tom, no, he commented on it, but the person who forwarded this, and she's taking credit for it, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, I have formally referred Jerome Powell to the DOJ for criminal investigation, and that was back in July when she did that with a letter. So that is the person and then she says she was gratified yesterday by this. So they're obviously that person.
What I was going to bring up is Tom Tillis, the senator, the Republican senator, who says that at this point he's put out a statement. If there were any remaining doubt about whether advisors within the Trump administration are actively pushing to end the independence of the Federal Reserve, there should be none now. He says he's going to oppose the confirmation of any nominee for the Fed, including the upcoming Fed chair vacancy, until it's resolved.
The other big piece is actually what Trump has said. And Eamon, I want to go over that with you because I don't know whether you've seen what he said or whether you believe in this case that what he's saying is accurate. He says the following. He says, I don't know anything about it, but he's certainly not very good at the Fed, and he's not very good at building buildings. This is what he told NBC News last night. He went on to say I wouldn't even, when asked about whether this was about interest rates, I wouldn't even think of doing it that way. What should pressure him is the fact that rates are far too high. That's the only pressure he's got.
Yeah, I mean, so one of the questions for Powell will be, will he be able to get, in the course of his defense effort, any communications between the President of the United States and the Attorney General on this? That often is very protected information, and he might not be able to get to it. I don't know the legality of that in terms of the discovery process here, but that may be privileged. But I think Powell's attorneys will certainly weigh in on this and say that this is being directed by the president. They'll look for evidence that it was directed by the president. We've seen the president issue orders to Pam Bondi before. He's done it publicly in terms of things that he's posted on social media. So did he do that in this case? That'll be one of the questions.
He's going to try for cover, Amy. This is what Representative Luna said. I laid out in detail how Jerome Powell lied under oath to Congress and misrepresented facts. And I did this to administration officials, including Russ Vought, the OMB director. Unelected bureaucrats do not get a free pass. This is exactly why oversight exists. And I am thankful the DOJ is taking this seriously. No one is above the law. So, Trump can say, I don't know what's going on here, and point to and that's the way that they would orchestrate it. You can imagine.
The reality, legally, though, the reality is that Congress doesn't matter here. I mean, this is a grand jury investigation, so the way it works is the prosecutors will discover evidence with these subpoenas. They'll present that to the grand jury. If they feel like they have enough evidence to indict on criminal charges, they'll present that to the grand jury. If the grand jury hands down an indictment, the DOJ will indict Jay Powell. And Congress is not involved in this process at all. So, I mean, it matters to the extent that there's political support for it, but they can't stop it. Right. They can't stop it.
Once it's put out there, they can't stop it.
Ultimately, you can have all the statements that you want, but the reality is, can the DOJ find enough evidence here to indict? If they indict, can they prove their case in court in front of a jury and in front of a judge? And that's the risk here, is that they'll end up bringing a case that they can't actually, get a conviction on.
Oh, and then the other question, though, we've talked for a long time about business executives who've been on the other side of Trump. I got a whole bunch of emails and texts from people last night, some of whom said, is this the moment that, effectively, is this the moment that I'm supposed to raise my hand? I mean, we've talked about sort of where there are red lines, and by the way, there have been lots of red lines, ostensibly, that have been crossed over the past
it sounds like it's 8
months.
Right. We'll see. I still think the system works, and we'll see how this proceeds. But
Andrew, you've talked to a lot of CEOs. I've talked to a lot of CEOs about this. Probably not as many as you have, but all the CEOs I've talked to, off the record, on background, in private, say, we're not raising our hands to object to the president because we feel that with his psychology, with the way the president responds, he'll respond badly to any direct confrontation. And so what we want to do is work around the edges, suggest alternatives, work in private, try to reach out to Susie Wiles or other figures inside the administration to try to adjust things. But they're very wary of confronting the president directly.
But the question is, on something like this,
that'll make things worse, and there's risk for them, for their own shareholders.
Whether there needs to be an effort, whether there deserves to be an effort, should be an effort to try to bring the temperature down and effectively have the White House effectively end such an investigation, if you think that they would do such a thing, or not prosecute. That becomes the question.
But can they?
Well, the White House can, because the White House is likely involved to a large degree in this.
You're taking that a step too.
We should say
the White House is doing
baseline in terms of
you can't. I mean, to get to that point, you have to assume the White House did it in the first place. If they put it on, they could take it off. But, they're going to argue that they didn't put it on and that no one's above the law.
Well, you have to assume that Pirro is somehow completely independent of the president.